My dear students, the idea of functional prerequisites is central to functionalist analysis. Structural functionalism is the perspective we are discussing these days. So, functional prerequisites simply mean needs of society because functionalism sees society as a system, as uh, something like a machine, and therefore, like any machine or organism, society has certain needs. These needs, which are technically called functional prerequisites, are to be fulfilled. These needs are fulfilled by the parts of society. Parts of society exist for whole. So the relationship of part and whole is central to structural functionalism. Parts exist for the sake of whole. They exist to fulfill the needs of society. So they have functions. What are functions? Functions are consequences of parts. You can say contribution of parts for the whole. So functions are basically an answer to functional prerequisites, right? So this is the major thing. And now the question comes that how to identify functional prerequisites? How can we know that what exactly are the needs of society? Today we will discuss this, that how functionalists can be sure that these are the functional prerequisites of society. There are many approaches. One approach to identify functional prerequisites is that we make a survey, and we in our survey study different societies, different human societies, and just try to find the common things, the common institutions between various societies. So the universal presence of some institution may lead us to think that the functions of this particular institution, which is universal, it means that it is serving some purpose which is very basic, which is very integral to the maintenance of society, and it must be the need of society. So we start with a survey. We say, for example, that family, the institution of family, for example, we identify it is present everywhere. It is present in African societies, it is present in European societies in whatever form, and there can be different structures of family, but the institution of family is integral to human society. So if, for example, this is just an example, if family is universally present, so we will infer that the functions of family, for example, the child to raise the children, the socialization of children, so the function of family is also of course universal. It means that this is the basic need of society. So from institutions which are commonly present to their functions, and from functions, because the assumption is that everything which is functional, it caters to some need. So from the supply we assume that this was the need, that's why it was being supplied by family. If family is doing some work, if we understand that this is the job, this is the role of family, so from the function of family, from the role of family, we will infer that it is there because it was the need of society. So through, the presence of different structures, we can deduce that these are the needs of society. For example, if we make a survey and we feel that religion is universal, so what we will do, that religion is performing some role, and for example we say that religion is an institution which tells us how to deal with the ultimate questions. So it means to deal with the ultimate questions of our existence is the need of society. Society must have some mechanism to for its members, so that they can understand why they are here. So this, to provide this mechanism, is the need of society, is the functional prerequisite of society. The problem with this approach is that how can we assume that even if we say that this is the structure, this is the institution which is universally present, but we can never be sure that this institution is having the same purpose everywhere. So the problem with this approach is that we are assuming too much. We are assuming that, all right, that institution is everywhere, but it may be serving one purpose in one society and the other purpose in some other society. So it can have multiple functions, because our logic was that from institutions to their functions to functional prerequisites. This is our logic. So if it has many functions, like 10 functions, so how can we be sure that which one is serving the need of society? And in one society it is existing for one role, and the other society it can exist for some other role. So this is the problem with this whole approach. Another approach can be that we observe that what can be the conditions under which society may not work at all. If we, for example, want to understand the needs of some machine, we can just uh, see the operation of machine, and we can, for example, infer that what are the conditions under which machine would cease to operate, it would cease to exist. For example, uh, if we have an organism, we can observe that organism, and we can say that these are the conditions in which this organism would die. So those conditions which must be needed for the continuation of that, for the life of that organism, those must be the needs of that organism. For example, we can say that food, for example, is needed by cat. So the needs of cat can be inferred by understanding the conditions in which the cat can die. So respiration, for example, is a need of cat, for example. So in the same way, we can observe that society, for example, would cease to exist if there is a war of all against all, if all the people just start quarreling with one another, or if, for example, uh, conflicts raise to such a level in which there is a chaos. So there must be, for example, some mechanism to resolve the conflicts. So this becomes a need of society then, that there must be some mechanism to resolve the conflicts between different members of society. So in this way, this approach says that we can understand the needs of society. And the third approach is similar to this approach, that society can be, you can say it is similar to a system, a logical system, a framework, a structure, which can we can think that it has certain requirements. So for example, a structure must be, there must be control in that structure, there must be feedback system, there must be there must be proper, we can say, hierarchy, or proper system in which one part would be able to monitor or regulate the affairs of other, things like that. So needs can be inferred if we say that society, if it is a structure, then by understanding the requirements of a structure, we can perhaps understand the needs of society. The problem with these two approaches is that it is too much, again, it seems logical, but actually it is not based on the sociological evidence. It lacks the empirical data. We are just it's too much hypothetical or too much abstract. So the problem with these two approaches is that they can be right or they can be wrong. They are not relying on sociological evidence, but they are we can say that they are abstract in nature. So please read these things. I would share the reading material along with this idea that how to identify functional prerequisites. Thank you very much.